Okay guys, we haven't done an urgent real-time Bitcoin forecast in a long time, so let's do one right now. I think this is a belt. I think this is a belt channel, and belt channels happen in the middle of ABCD patterns, which would mean this. Here's the belt thicker, and the ABCD pattern would look like this. Beautiful, isn't it? But can you use leverage? How much leverage can you use? That is answered by these two ovals. I'm going to tell you about them. So this green line is my target from here to here. But I think you can use pretty high leverage right now because of these ovals. Let's zoom into them, shall we? Okay, oval zoomed in. How much leverage do you think we can use? I think this would be worst case scenario, but I don't even think this is gonna happen. This says we are at 3.8, so you can literally do about a 20x long. To be really safe, do half. Maybe do an 11x long or 10x long, and you won't get liquidated. We'll just go straight up from here. How do I know that, or why do I think that? Okay, so you have to have at least 2 or 3 reasons. If you don't have 2 or 3 reasons for thinking what you're thinking, or giving yourself that kind of measurement margin of error, then you're just kind of guessing instead of looking for confluences of multiple factors. Multifactorial confluence is what it's called. So we zoom back out. And when we do zoom back out, what we notice is that this is the greatest amount of deviation outside of, this is the greatest amount of deviation. I mean, I'm not going to use a simpler word than that. Outside of this channel that we drew with this neckline. You see this inverse head and shoulders neckline? It's the greatest amount of deviation. Now, this amount of deviation is exactly the same amount of deviation as this. They're both exactly the same, which means that we've already fulfilled maximum and maximum again. We've retested maximum deviation. I guess I could explain this to you one other way. Normally what ends up happening when there's a channel is that there is a stop hunt or a reversal or even a retrace of a certain amount of volatility. And this is the maximum volatility we've had outside of this channel, and this is the maximum amount of volatility we have above the channel now. So since we've had the same amount of volatility on both channels, chances are we're not going to get this much volatility again. Especially, so that's factor number 1. Factor number 2, you see these wicks here? What are these wicks about? Have you ever wondered why these wicks are where they are? We're going to have to zoom in again. These are the wicks that I'm worried about and wondering why, what they tell us. And these wicks are exactly tick, tick, on the bottom side of this rising wedge, bottom side of this rising wedge. 3 rejections on the outside. So what are we going to do? We're generally going to have to test the upside now. So that's another vote for up, right? But let's look at this even biggerly. If you look at this even biggerly, you realize this is the top of the inverse head and shoulders. Here's the inverse head and shoulders. 1 triangle, 2 triangles, 3 triangles. See? 3 triangles. 1, 2, 3 triangles. 1, 2, 3 triangles. And so this thing's going to pop about this much. And it did. And it's going to have a retrace. And it did. And the retrace was rejected under this purple line. And it was. Why don't I just draw in the inverse head and shoulders for you? So I did. Here's the inverse head and shoulders. But you'll also notice that this particular wick that we just talked about, this triple wicking here, is absolutely perfectly retesting this rising wedge that comes out of a pivot from this inverse head and shoulders. So here's the inverse head and shoulders. We had our pump, and then we had our retrace, and we perfectly touched the top line of this particular triangle. That was the pivot of the inverse head and shoulders. So I mean, we have nothing else left to do except go up. But wait, that's only 3 or 4 factors, right? Let's see if we can find more factors that say up versus down. Let's even look for down factors, okay? So let's start zooming out. And I looked for down factors. I couldn't find any, especially when you zoom out. When you zoom out, you see this. But what is this? Let me move my noggin. Here it is. Noggin moved. You see anything unusual? Let me change the orientation a little bit to see it better. In fact, all of this stuff is kind of distracting, so let's just delete it all. It's all gone. Now, what do you notice? You noticing anything? Anything? What am I looking for here? What am I seeing here? Wait, are you implying, is that a, and yeah, you got a boss. That's what one of my Arab friends used to say. You got a boss. Look at that. There's a couple slight deviations here, like this wick down here, this rejection, and like these rejections underneath this parabolic path. But I mean, this is just absolutely perfect. I mean, look at the perfection. Because everyone knows that 2 times 2 divided by the square root of 2 times 3 times the cube of 2 is 2 equals 2. So you can take sound and turn it into light, and take light, and if you divide it by 2, it becomes sound. So you have to go long on Bitcoin right now. I mean, look at this. Look at how perfect this is. I'm not making this shit up. This stuff is like, it just ticks all the boxes. It doesn't tick the boxes, it ticks the parabolic line. I mean, they're just amazingly beautiful confluences. It's just weird how this stuff works. And if we put the ABCD pattern back in here, it looks like this. So this is about our target up here. And it should dip a little bit and just kind of play around here. And then it'll hit this point. And this is like, that's over $100,000 per Bitcoin. And Ethereum looks like it's going to do an easy 300%. Oh, so what's going to pump the hardest? First of all, this guy. This guy right now only has 75 holders, literally 75 holders. And here it is. It's AE88. It's going to have millions of users. It's called AI Assistant. It's because NVIDIA is working on an AI Assistant chipset. And look it up. Just Google NVIDIA AI Assistant. And they're working on a chipset, and these guys are working on a coin that works with that chipset. And next, all 3 of these, because these are the guys that are on the new Linea network. It's a brand new network. It started by Joseph Lubin, which is why you have Lube here. And Linda is the first dog coin, and Life, L-A-I-F, is the first AI coin in the Linea network. You've never heard of the Linea network? Go to your MetaMask and click where it says at the top, it says Ethereum, just click it. And it used to give you an option for BNB chain. It used to give you an option for like Polygon. There's all sorts of other chains. They're gone. The guys that created Linea Network are the ones that created MetaMask itself. You know how many billions they have? They take 1% of every single trade for years and years and years. They're the richest. The guy, Joseph Lubin, I think he's richer than Vitalik Buterin. He's the one that started Ethereum with Vitalik, and I think he's actually richer because he just keeps making 1% on everybody's trades on MetaMask. So here they are. And he started a brand new competitor he started a level 2 that competes with Arbitrum, that competes with, Optimism, and Solana, which is competing with Ethereum. And he's just going to blow everyone away because he's the richest guy on earth, and MetaMask is already loaded, totally loaded up with Linea Network. So these are the top 3 coins in Linea Network you need to stock up on. Follow me for updates on OTC_Bitcoin. OTC_Bitcoin, and you guys actually should see the other video. I have a video on my channel about AI.Assistant. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and you'll see the other video on it. It goes into detail as to how it's going to make money, and it's really impressive. And right now nobody knows about it, but soon there will be millions of people that know about this thing.